Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. A sexless marriage is inevitable. Get it while the getting is good. I'm going to be hitting some topics from a longer upload I made recently in response to an article that was called Sex-Free Marriage, Anyone? Welcome to the new trend for the wokeys, marrying your best friend. Would you want to sign up for that? I don't think that's marriage at all. People have been trying to modify or make an idea of marriage that suits them, even though it goes against the grain of what has been the norm for a very long time. Today I want to continue to talk about this topic of sexless marriage, but not intentional sexless marriage. Make no mistake about it, when you marry, sex is an obligation. It is also a great pleasure and a gift that a husband or wife give to each other. We should also be mindful that eventually the thrill is gone, right? Do you agree? Please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea, where I talk not just about marriage practically, but these days I feel the need to talk about just what marriage is. I will have some links to recent videos I've done in the end. I want to make marriage great again. Here's a statement from an article that you can find in the description box. They say, call me a cynic, but don't marriages end up sexless anyway? Passion fades, adoration warps into irritation, and just give it 7 years or so, a trip to a divorce lawyer is pretty much inevitable. That's from the article. The author has a rather depressing view of marriage, I would say. And you know what? Eventually, if we stay married and live long enough, neither person will desire it much compared to their youth. I'm talking about sex, which is another reason to get married as fast as you can. But I get the impression the author is assuming that even before those days will come, couples will be so combative that neither will even desire sex with the other. Maybe you're thinking about what happens after childbirth and children to be responsible for. As for most marriages ending up sexless, desire and ability does wane with age. That is something people should factor in when thinking about how long they're willing to wait to be married. Now here's an interesting article from healthresearchfunding.com. We're going to get into 30 odd sexless marriage statistics. From the article, it's easy to assume that couples consistently and regularly engage in sexual activity, especially after getting married and being available to each other on a regular basis, or just about every night of the week. Many couples assume that others have active sex lives simply because they cannot imagine a couple being together without having sex, and because sex is often presented as being important in relationships. But statistics tell a different tale when it comes to sexless marriages. Consider some interesting statistics about these types of relationships, why they may happen, and what psychologists say about couples in these situations. Number one, and this link should be provided to you in the description box. Number one, Dr. Phil McGraw, Dr. Phil, a popular speaker and counselor on relationships and marriage, has said in his website that there is no particular number of sexual encounters that is considered normal for couples, married or not. His advice to couples is to negotiate a sexual relationship that meets both their needs, rather than assuming they should be having sex at certain intervals or a certain number of times. And I agree with that, for married people. Number two, according to researchers quoted by Newsweek magazine, married couples have sex an average of just over 68 times per year, or just slightly more than 1 time per week. Other researchers have put the number at closer to 58 times per year, just slightly more than once per week. Number three, married people under 30 are reported to have sex some 111 times a year. Married people under 30, and make sure to leave comments too to this video. Number four, the same source stated that married persons have only 6.9 more sexual encounters every year than those who are not married or who have never been married. Five, experts define a sexless marriage as a relationship wherein the couple has sex no more than 10 times in any given year, or less than once per month. Number six, some 15 to 20% of couples identify as having a sexless marriage. Based on the above statistic, a study performed in 1994 said that some 2% of married couples had no sex the year before. Less than 20% of those identifying as having a sexless marriage were under the age of 40. 7, according to USA Today, some 20 to 30% of men and some 30% to 50% of women claim to have little, if any, sex drive. Something very wrong with that. 8, a persistent or recurring lack of interest in being sexual or in sex itself, and the the persistent lack of absence of sexual thoughts and fantasies is called hypoactive sexual desire, or HCD. Persistent or recurring lack of interest in sex and the persistent lack of sexual thoughts and fantasies, hypoactive or low sexual desire. 9, some 25% of Americans in total, made up of 1/3 of women and 1/5 of men, have this HSD, hypoactive sexual desire, to a varying degree. 10, psychotherapist Tina Tessina stated that the most common causes of marriage without sex include hurt feelings between partners, a partner that initiates sex but that gets turned down too often, partners that are too busy or that become neglectful of spouses in the relationship, and communication problems between spouses or with one spouse in particular. Sexologist Judith Steinhardt stated that relationship issues such as lack of trust between spouses, anxiety, pressures such as from children, and common misunderstandings between spouses also contribute significantly to having a sexless relationship. Hard to argue with that. 11 counselor Dr. Adam Scheck reported in the year 2000 that half of the couples he counseled had found themselves in sexless marriages, and stated that the common causes were the inability to talk openly about sex, not understanding the actual physical act of sex itself, lack of sleep, and the use of antidepressants and other medications that affect a person's sex drive. 12 persons in sexless marriages are more likely to seek a divorce than those with active sex lives, according to the Tara Parker Pope of the New York Times. 13, according to Parker Pope, there has been some misspellings in this copy and paste I did. According to Parker Pope, a sexless marriage can be temporary and affected by outside circumstances. For example, childbirth or an affair on the part of one spouse can make a marriage become sexless. 14, Elena Donovan Mayer was quoted in Reader's Digest as saying that a sexless marriage would not automatically cause a couple's desire for a divorce, but rather blamed a discordant level of desire instead. Her article stated that in a sexless marriage, if both partners are comfortable with the level of sexuality, a marriage is likely to continue. 15, some researchers have blamed modern technology for the increase in sexless marriages. The Examiner is quoted as stating that TVs and laptops or cell tops in the bedroom are to blame by many couples when it comes to interrupting sexual activity and desire. 16, a sex consensus in 2012 funded by Relate and Adult Store Ann Summers stated that respondents claimed to have more sexual confidence between the ages of 60 and 69 than ever before. The study also claimed that respondents reported no decrease in sex drive after the age of 50. And I am calling complete BS on that one. 17, Lady Bird magazine reported that many of its readers put lack of time as the number one reason they were not having sex as frequently as they once did or would prefer. Their respondents cited child rearing, housework, secular careers, paying the bills, and everyday chores such as these, like just these chores, everyday chores like this, taking precedent over sexual activity. 18, the same article listed depression as a common cause of a lack of sex drive on the part of either spouse. 19, physical causes can also be behind the lack of a sex drive in women. According to the Mayo Clinic, arthritis, cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, and coronary artery disease can interfere with a woman's overall sex drive. During menopause, a woman can experience vaginal dryness, and this can interfere with a healthy sex drive. 20. Hormonal changes in women can also affect their overall sex drive, according to the Mayo Clinic. Pregnancy and childbirth and subsequent breastfeeding can affect a woman's hormone levels so that her sex drive is decreased. 21. Women may have also psychological causes for the lack of a sex drive, including poor body image, lack of self-esteem, a history of sexual or other abuse, and lack of connection with one's partner. Infidelity or a breach of trust was also listed as common psychological cause of low libido or sex drive in women. 22, according to WebMD, the number one cause, physical cause, of lack of sex drive for men is the use of antidepressants and medications such as those for high blood pressure. These are known to cause a drop in libido and sexual functioning in men. 23, the website also reports that low testosterone can interfere with healthy sexual activity. In one survey quoted at their site, some 28% of men who reported low sex drive tested low for testosterone as well. 24, erectile dysfunction or physical impotence is not the same as a low sex drive. Men who have erectile dysfunction, ED, have a physical inability to maintain a healthy erection, although they may still have a healthy sexual desire. 25 common causes of ED include smoking, as this damages the blood vessels needed to carry blood to the penis, obesity, a slow metabolism, and age. 26 psychological factors can also affect a man's sex drive. These can include stress, particularly from one's job, and problems with one's partner. Just a few more. 27, alcohol is also a leading cause of low sex drive in men, as alcohol interferes with healthy blood flow to the penis. It also raises your estrogen levels, I will add, and that stores more body fat, and that just lowers your ability to function and your desire. 28, lack of sleep can also interfere with a healthy sex drive for both men and women, as both need proper rest to have sexual energy. 29, the site webmd.com also listed children as a leading cause of the lack of sex drive for both men and women, regardless of the ages of the children. The site brought out that parents can suffer from stress and physical exhaustion, and these in turn can interfere with a healthy sex drive and desire. The last one, a lack of intimacy for both partners, was also listed on WebMD.com as a leading cause of a sexless relationship. The site claims that emotional intimacy is needed for both partners to feel sexual and to increase one's sex drive. They say the statistics and facts show that a sexless marriage, or one with very little sex, is not as uncommon as many people assume, and that can happen to anyone in a relationship. It can also develop over time or be a temporary problem with a couple based on mitigating or outside factors. These statistics and facts also show that it can be addressed with counseling or medication and physical treatment if either or both partners wish to change the situation. What do you think? Go ahead and leave a comment. I want to cover a broad range of marital topics here on Love Beyond the Sea.